Obviously, everyone knows that Mark is the president of Rotary International for 2019-2020. And he grew up in Southern Illinois in a rural area, and he still has family up there. And he goes back each year to become the Popcorn King for their annual event. Mark is a principal in the law firm of Blackburn, Maloney, and Schuppert law firm with a focus on taxation, estate planning, and agricultural law. And he represents, unsurprisingly, large farming operations, Southeastern and Midwestern U.S., and has chaired the American Bar Association's Committee on Agriculture in the section of taxation. He is a member of the American Bar Association, Alabama State Bar Association, and the Alabama Law Institute. He's been active in Decatur, where he's located, Decatur, Alabama. And there should be a Decatur city in every state, I understand. Decatur is the name of a hero in the War of 1812. He's been active in Decatur's religious community, chairing the church's finance council and local Catholic school board. Also serves as president of the Community Foundation of Greater Decatur, chair of Morgan County Meals on Wheels, and director of the United Way of Morgan County and the Decatur-Morgan County Chamber of Commerce. I don't know when he times to work or do Rotary then. A Rotarian since 1980, Mark Maloney has served as an RI director, foundation trustee, and vice chair, and aide to 2003-4 RI president Jonathan Majiabi. Also participated in the council legislation as chair, vice chair, parliamentarian, and trainer. And he's an advisor to the 2004 Osaka Convention Committee and chaired the 2014 Sydney Convention Committee. Prior to serving as district governor at the age of 34, he led a group study exchange to Nigeria. He also served as a Future Vision Committee vice chair, Foundation Training Institute moderator, Foundation Permanent Fund national advisor, member of the Peace Centers Committee, advisor to the Foundation's Water, Sanitation, Hygiene in Schools Target Challenge Committee. Whew. And Mark's wife is, okay, I got you figured. Gay is an attorney at the same law firm, member and past president of the Rotary Club of Decatur, Daybreak, Alabama. You're in different Rotary clubs? Yes. Anyway, family is very important to Mark, and if I recall, you have 3 daughters. That's right. Please welcome RI President Mark Maloney.
Thank you, Brad. Yes, Gay and I are in 2 separate Rotary clubs. Gay says there is no Rotary club in the world big enough for both of us. So back in 1996, Gay said, you know, I need to be a Rotarian, but not in your club. And of course, there was only one club in Decatur at the time. So we chartered a new Rotary. We needed a second Rotary club, and Gay needed a Rotary club. So we chartered a new Rotary club, the Rotary Club of Decatur Daybreak. And Gay is a stalwart of that club. So Brad began by asking how I am today. And I'm always fabulous, because I believe that your attitude is a state of mind, not just how the world may be pressing upon you on that particular day. However, I must admit that today, perhaps I'm just a little less fabulous than I am on most days. Because right now, it is 6:05 a.m. in Honolulu, Hawaii. And people would be gathering at Ala Moana State Park for the first official, well, I'll call it the first official function of the Honolulu Convention. The 3-mile walk around Ala Moana State Beach Park, and which was to begin at 6:30 in the morning on today. And it is a disappointment not to be wearing this in Honolulu, instead to be wearing it in Decatur, Alabama. I have the distinction of being the first Rotary International President in 110 years. Well, I'm the first international president ever not to have an in-person international convention. And, you know, one of my friends that we ran into as we were taking our walk in the park today says, well, your photograph will go up on the wall and then there will be an asterisk beside it. Anyway, I'm not so sure what I think about that, but anyway, you know, he was sort of the president. And so anyway, but it's, you know, one thing I've realized is the situation, you know, that Mark Maloney wasn't picked out, Rotary International wasn't picked out. The entire globe is in this situation together. And frankly, I hope that because of this common experience, it will increase our connection with those whom we might not normally be connected. I have never been prouder to be a Rotarian than I am now. Yes, Gay and I have spent the last 82 nights in our own bed, in our own home. 82 consecutive nights. But who's counting? I'm counting. And I think that sets a record for a Rotary International president that must go back who knows how far back. But Rotarians have responded and are making the pivot. Just like this meeting here this morning, Rotarians have moved nimbly from an in-person organization to an organization operating on a virtual platform. And I think there are a lot of Rotarians who themselves are surprised at how nimble we have been. While it is very important that we continue to provide service to our community, local community, and global communities, I believe that the greatest service we can provide at this time is to engage our members. It is extremely important that we engage our members. If your Rotary Club is meeting virtually, I want to congratulate you on that. That is extremely important to maintain those connections with the members of your club. And you know, when here on the Zoom platform, as you know, you can click on that participant icon at the bottom of the page, and a list will show up on the right-hand side of your screen with the names of all of those participating. But the most important names are the names that don't show up on that list. If your club is meeting, who is not showing up week after week? Just because Joe or Sue doesn't make it once or twice, that's okay. But who is not coming week after week? And I encourage you, the greatest service you can provide, I believe, is to reach out to those Rotarians who are not showing up week after week. First, you need to inquire about them personally. Is there a health issue that they need some assistance with that keeps them from participating? Is there some sort of financial issue that they're too embarrassed about? Remember, Rotary was not founded by Paul Harris as a service organization. It quickly became that. Motto became service above self. But when Rotary was founded in 1905, it was a networking organization. And I call upon all Rotarians in these unusual times to hearken back to that original concept and reach out to the Rotarians in your club who are losing connection with your club and restore that connection, make them realize, help them realize that they are missed and that they are a valuable part of your club. And Governor Brad, if you have any clubs in your district that are not meeting, I encourage district leaders or neighboring clubs to mentor those clubs so that they are meeting virtually. They don't have to have their own Zoom meetings. They can come in and participate in the Zoom meetings of neighboring clubs. But it is so important that we are engaging all of our Rotarians. We cannot just have a situation where the choice is in-person meeting or no meeting. We don't have that luxury at this time. And we must make sure that all of our clubs are having some sort of meeting or some sort of way of engaging with their members if we expect those Rotarians to still be part of our fellowship when times return to a more normal situation. When Brad and I were in San Diego back in January 2019, I announced to Brad and the other 524 incoming district governors the Rotary International theme for this year: Rotary Connects the World. And never in January of 2019 or in the months that followed did I have the expectation that that theme would have the meaning that it has now. Rotarians are truly making the effort to connect the world. And then as we go through this and we maintain our connections, passing through this pandemic provides us with great opportunities. Oh, and there's next year's theme: Rotary opens opportunities. The global pandemic is a dark cloud over the world, but every dark cloud has a silver lining. And I think for Rotary, that silver lining is to realize that the importance of being innovative, the importance of being flexible. We have the opportunity to change how we operate. This pandemic is a watershed moment in the history of the world, but it's also a watershed moment in the history of Rotary. We will speak of Rotary before the pandemic and Rotary after the pandemic. Just like in our lives, we speak of our lives before marriage and after marriage, or before children and after children. And we have the opportunity to be more flexible. In our existing clubs, our existing more traditional clubs, I think that the virtual platform will become a greater part of our daily Rotary existence, of our weekly Rotary existence. Hopefully, we will live stream our meetings so that those who are not there can still participate from afar. Some clubs, I think, will move to a point where they meet in person, say 3 times a month, but then virtually once a month. I know for sure Rotary International is going to be utilizing virtual tools with greater frequency. We now realize that we can have RI committee meetings virtually. Shoot, we can even have the board of directors of Rotary International meet virtually. Now, the one nice thing about this pandemic happening at the end of the Rotary year for us is that, you know, as a board of directors, we'd already developed the in-person relationships. So when we moved online, missing those in-person relationships was not such a problem. So in-person connection is still important. But, you know, back in April, we had an 11-hour board meeting over 3 days with 66 participants, including directors-elect and staff members. We operated in 7 different languages, and we had participants physically located in 19 different countries. And the last full week of this month, we will have our last board meeting of the year, and we will conduct that virtually as well. And in fact, the board has already decided that all committee meetings and all board meetings for the rest of this calendar year will be conducted virtually. So, and I think we need to look at how we can use these virtual tools to attract a new demographic, a younger demographic. I think that we have the opportunity for younger individuals to see, these Rotary folks aren't so old fogyish as I thought they were. They can adjust. And I think we need to be taking a look at new and different type Rotary clubs which involve virtual engagement and other clubs as well. Well, speaking of virtual engagement, instead of being in Honolulu today for the opening of the House of Friendship and the beginning of the Rotary International Convention, I want to invite you to the first ever virtual convention. Now more than ever, Rotary connects the world, the 2020 Rotary Virtual Convention. And here you are on the stage set, the presidential stage set for this convention in one of the law libraries in our office. Before I tell you about the specifics of the convention, so behind us, you see is the backdrop that was sent to us. We're in the law library of our office on the 2nd floor. And see, here's all the law books that we don't use anymore because everything is online. Hopefully you can still hear me when I turn this away, but see, I have special lighting, the ring light. And just like somebody pointed out, here's the stack of boxes with the books on top that the laptop goes on so that the teleprompter can be there for me. There's the tripod that the camera goes on in front of the laptop. And this is the laptop, which is my life now. Zoom is my life. So now you've had a behind the scenes tour of the presidential virtual convention stage set. But please reserve June 20 to 26 on your calendar for our virtual convention. All the details for our convention are being placed on the convention microsite, riconvention.org. And that site has been updated tremendously just in the last 72 hours. The information that is there has greatly expanded. So if you've been to the site, you've seen just a brief schedule at a glance. Well, now there's detailed schedules. There's a place to register. You do need to register in advance to gain access to the live streaming platform. And you can go, I've already registered, And as the dutiful husband, I've already registered gay as well last night. And our registrations were accepted. There's no fee to register. There's no fee to register, and nor do you have to be a Rotarian to register. Invite your friends, invite your family members to participate. That's right, riconvention.org. Thank you, Alan. Just went in the chat box. And we will have general sessions on Saturday, June 20, and Sunday, June 21. Now, for those of you on the West Coast, it means an early rise that morning because they're at 6 a.m. Pacific time. However, if you can't get up that early, Brad, everything's recorded and you can play it back later. One thing we've learned in this virtual world is that 8 o'clock Chicago time is the golden time to have an event. That means that for almost all the world, except for Hawaii itself and Eastern Australia and New Zealand, you do not engage people between midnight and 6 a.m. So we start at 6 a.m. on the West Coast, and it's 10 p.m. in Japan and Korea. And so that's why that time is chosen. But everything's recorded. Don't worry. I know you need your beauty sleep, Brad. So you have the opportunity to catch it later.
Thank you.
And then there'll be breakout session, 15 featured breakout sessions, 3 a day, Monday through Friday, the 22nd through the 26th. Then the following weekend on the 27th and 28th, there will be the Rotaract post-convention event and the Youth Exchange Officers event. And then through the month of July, there'll be about 40 other breakout sessions. We've got 15 featured during that 1 week with full interpretation into all of the languages and with a greater level of staff support. But then all of those who had been approved for a breakout session in Honolulu have the opportunity to conduct their breakout session virtually and to have it promoted on the riconvention.org site. It's just that they choose their own platform. There will be no interpretation provided unless they do it themselves. And they'll choose whatever platform they want and the time. All of that information is coming together on the riconvention.org site. As I said, registration is already there. So I encourage you to register and to participate. Just yesterday, we got confirmation that UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres will welcome Rotarians at the first general session on Saturday morning, which was kind of a high point for us yesterday. So, Brad, I have rambled on now for, what, 20 to 25 minutes. Perhaps somebody has a specific question or comment that they would. Oh, yes, I forgot. The virtual House of Friendship. I intended to do that. Thank you, Gay. See, this is why I married up, you know. And so in addition to all of these events, for the 7 days of June 20 to 26, 24 hours a day, there will be a virtual House of Friendship. And there's a map of the House of Friendship that looks like the House of Friendship map you've seen at many conventions, and you put your cursor over the booth, whether it's the Taipei booth the Rotary Resource Booth, the booth for several different Rotary action groups, Rotary fellowships, partners, and projects. And and in some of them, you can even interact with someone. I think with the Taipei booth, you'll have the opportunity to actually speak with someone at certain times who's from the host organizing committee in Taipei, or the Taipei booth. So the House of Friendship, I mean, when I hear it described, and we've gotten just a little bit of a sample, I mean, it's something. It's, the staff has made the switch. We made the decision that the convention was canceled on March the 18th, and they are doing a virtual convention for the first time in 3 months. It is phenomenal what they are pulling together. And they're all doing it from their homes. Yes. Okay, Brad, maybe I'll stop now.
Hey, thank you very much, RA President Mark Maloney, and thank you, Gay, for assisting him. First of all, our Alan Baydek is our co-host who's looking at the chat line. And if you have questions, you can put it in the chat line or raise your hand. And Alan, where did you go?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. So do we have a question?
Just for everyone, I will go to the next person for a question or comment, and I will indicate the next person after that who's on deck. Please unmute your mic and unmute your video if applicable. The controls for that are down in the left-hand corner of the Zoom window. The mic icon is for unmuting your mic, and the video icon is for unmuting your video. So first up, we have a question from Linda Jean, and then on deck is Aliyah Ali.
Oh, you're not going to read my question? I have to say it?
You have the opportunity to expand, and
okay.
I think it's just a nicer way to do it.
Okay, yeah. This will be the first virtual international convention. What is the possibility that future international conventions will include a virtual component, which will certainly allow for many, many more people to attend?
Yes, I'm confident they will. In fact, for Honolulu, we had planned to offer live streaming at no charge to any Rotarian around the world.
Wow.
I mean, that was planned. In the last year, live streaming was available, but you had to pay a fee to get it, and very few people took advantage of it. And and there's been some give and take about, well, there was kind of some misunderstanding with how we were going to do it. So, we didn't want to announce it much up front because we wanted people to come to Honolulu. And so, but we were planning that there would be live streaming available to any Rotarian at no charge. And I fully anticipate that that will be the norm from here on out.
Oh, that's excellent. And of course, we have a lot more Rotarians with experience with virtual interactions.
Right. Now, I will say the virtual convention is, the live stream is a one-way event. It's not, we do have some interactive components. I've put a call out on Facebook for people to post on the virtual convention event page in Facebook photos of themselves in Hawaiian attire or in national dress. And those will be featured in a kind of pre-show presentation before the convention, kind of we call it a happy snaps feature, where it's a loop of photos of Rotarians in their festive aloha and national attire. So there is some give and take, but it has to be done in advance.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank
Just
you,
before
Linda.
you go on, Alan, if I may, I just wanted to point out that you probably noticed it already, Mark and Gay, that we have quite a few people to celebrate the Hawaiian Convention opening right now with all their Hawaiian shirts and some with Hawaiian backgrounds. So we're trying to make the best of it. So go ahead, Alan.
Oh, thanks, Brad. Aaliyah, you're up, and Bill Robson, you're on deck.
Hi, my question was, as I was looking at the RI convention schedule, I noticed that there was no session on diversity or equity. And there is one for the Rotaract convention. And so I was wondering, do you think this indicates that the Rotaractors or young people are more connected to the issues facing the world today than RI leadership or other Rotarians?
Well, I think we've got a breakout session someplace on diversity and inclusion. I'd have to go back and look at the website to make sure, but I'm pretty sure we have such a session. It's not for me to judge whether younger people are more engaged on that subject than Rotary leadership. You need to make that decision for yourself. However, in January of last year, the board of directors adopted a statement on diversity and inclusion, and we have established a goal of, particularly with respect to gender equity, a goal of having 30% of leaders be female by 2023. And in every training session we now organize, and in every training session, PETS and governors-elect training, where other people do it, but we provide materials and segments on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we are making great strides in moving forward with that. We have diversity training for the incoming directors on the board. We were to have governance training, but of course in this pandemic situation, the governance training went by the by, but it was to include diversity training as well. So, you might look at the July breakouts. I think we've got diversity included there. I just, I don't remember every last topic, but I'm pretty sure it is included.
Yeah, there's one for in July. I guess I was just wondering why it wasn't in the kind of the main general sessions. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Aaliyah. Bill Robson, you're up, and Doug Wickers, you're on deck.
Thank you, Alan. Good morning, Mark and Gay. I was really looking forward to being in Honolulu this morning, but I got my background here, which is you probably recognize as being Honolulu. My question relates more, and I don't know if you can answer this or not, Mark, to be honest with you, but next year's convention is scheduled to be in Taipei. Given that the epicenter of this pandemic was in the Far East, what are the chances of that going ahead, or what are the likelihoods of it being canceled in person like yours and going ahead as a virtual convention?
Well, given the current circumstance, my personal opinion, which is it is worth what you pay for it. My personal opinion is that the chances of an in-person event happening in Taipei are very good. Now, are the chances for someone from the United States being able to go to it? They're not as good. I'll be frank, this is my personal opinion. many Rotary leaders had a briefing from the Ministry of Health and Welfare in Taiwan 2.5 weeks ago. And there's the island of Taiwan with a population of 24 million people sitting 100 miles off the coast of mainland China. As of the time of our briefing, they had only 441 cases of COVID-19. They had only 7 deaths. You know, my county here with a population of 112,000 has had 320 cases. I mean, you know, and there are 24 million people. They have had a very aggressive program of, you know, they jumped on it immediately, and a program of testing, of contact tracing, you know, and limitations on mobility that would be unacceptable in the United States and Canada. And they are now in the month of June back to normal. Restrictions, all internal restrictions are gone. Now, you can't fly into Taipei, to Taiwan, but all internal restrictions are gone. I think everybody still wears a mask, or, you know, most people still wearing masks, but the Deputy Minister for Health, who was a participant in the briefing, talked about how they are already looking at permitting travel from certain other countries that have been successful, like Japan, Australia, New Zealand. So I think there's a good chance that there will be a convention in person. The concern is there will probably be some countries from which people will not be able to travel to the convention. And we'll just have to see how that develops. Now, that is Mark Maloney's opinion. That is not an official Rotary International opinion. As it happens, you know, Gay and I are in the law firm here. Our law partner is the chair of the convention committee for Taipei, Ken Schuppert. And right now they are planning for an in-person convention. I mean, they're full steam ahead, an in-person convention with as many people as possible. But they will address issues as they come up.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. A very in-depth answer. But thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bill. Doug Wickers, you're up next, and Carol Tickleman, you're on deck.
Good morning, and thank you, first of all, for being part of our Saturday morning. I'm the 27-year member of the Rotary Club of Chilliwack, Brad's club, and incoming District Governor Carroll's club. Our club is anguishing over the decision to suspend our long tradition of doing student exchange in the current COVID-19 situation. Do you have any advice to offer us in making this decision?
The board is addressing this in a special meeting Monday morning. And the board has 2 different options to consider, and I'd rather not get into it. You know, our regular June board meeting is the week of June 22nd. We've been told we need to address this right away because people are making plans. So we're having a special 1-hour session Monday morning to address this one issue. And I guarantee you the announcements will be, I mean, it may not be Monday afternoon, it may be Tuesday, but the whole purpose of this is to get whatever is decided, to get it communicated immediately. And so we will have that you'll hear the official recommendation, within the next 2 to 4 days, I would say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Doug. Carol, you're up, and Bill Butler, you're on deck.
Mark and Gay, how nice to see you. Thank you for sharing your morning with us. This isn't a question, it's more a comment. I in district leadership have been so impressed with our director, Jeffrey, director-elect Valerie, and all of the RI staff in the support that they've given us at the district level, the assistance, the urging, the prodding to pivot and address our new reality, and the staff have just been amazing. So if you could express our gratitude to the staff and the directors, it truly has proven that Rotary cares, and they've assisted us in connecting to each other and opening opportunities for our clubs and our members in our district. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's great to hear. Great to hear.
Thanks, Carol. Bill Butler, you're up next.
Good morning. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. The question I have is on the theme of Rotary Connects the World. Is there a list of Rotary Club Zoom meetings worldwide, around the world? And can this list be made available, perhaps by email or on a website? I think this will let any Rotarian visit any other club meeting in the world. And that would certainly add to the connection theme. And as a new Rotarian in the Chilliwack Mount Shem club, I think it's important. My president said, connect to as many Zoom meetings as you can to understand Rotary Club, and that's why I'm here this morning, to learn.
I am not aware of a global list. I think there are some districts who are posting on their district websites lists for their districts. I would suggest that you might liaise with your governor or one of your district leaders, and they can check with the club and district support team in Evanston, and they may have, it would not be a comprehensive list, but they may have a partial list that you could share, that could be shared with you.
Okay, thank you.
If you go to Facebook, there are invites. I think if you just search for Rotary or Rotary Virtual or Rotary Zoom, I suspect you would find invites to many meetings, or connection information for many meetings around the world, frankly.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Bill Robson mentioned in the chat to me that there is a list and that he will get it to Brad so he can send it out. So that's great. Sorry, Alan Stockbridge was wondering if there is a program, a PDF of the program for the convention available, and I was wondering why the virtual convention is free.
I'm not aware of a PDF, but the schedule is right there on the webpage, and I guess it could be copied. It's free because we want everybody to come. We were having an in-person convention until March the 18th. The registration component of this did not open until yesterday. And we want people to participate. We want to engage people. The board, we have a convention reserve based upon surpluses achieved in past conventions. And so the board said, well, we'll just allocate $500,000 to have this virtual event to engage Rotarians all over the world. I think if we had charged a fee, it would significantly reduce our participation, and it just would have added another level of complexity for what had to happen in 90 days, essentially from March 18th to June. You know, when we first started this, you know, I told staff, I'd really like to have the virtual convention today and tomorrow, you know, to match up with the days that we were supposed to be in Honolulu. And they came back to us and said, Mark, please. And so that's why we're doing it the last full week of the month. It just, you know, I mean, this is not a slapdash. This is, I mean, we've got a stage production company that is working with us, the same stage production company that would have been in Honolulu. I mean, there's not going to be a big song and dance, you know, with 150 people on the stage, but this will be a very well executed first class event. And, you know, for a group of people who have never put on this sort of event before, and they're all working from home.
Awesome. James Monroe, you have a question.
Yes, thank you, Alan, and welcome again, President Mark. I got to participate in the Cross Timbers meeting when you were visiting there several days ago, so it was exciting to meet with you again. Follow-up question to the previous, do we know how many people are registered so far for the convention?
No. The registration just opened yesterday, but it is my goal for this to be the largest convention ever. The largest convention previously was in Osaka, Japan in 2004 when Jonathan Majiagbe was president. We had over 45,300 people registered for the convention. You know, every Japanese Rotarian registered. I mean, and so I want to break, you know, I'd love to break 50,000. We'll see what happens. And somebody said, you know, Mark, that's cheating. They're just living in their living rooms. I said, so?
Well, thank you. I did register a few minutes ago. It was really easy.
Great.
Awesome. Brian Warmold, you have a question or comment?
Yes. Thank you, Mark and Gay. Fabulous. Just so looking forward to it. I registered late last night, actually. A couple of things. As being a relatively newbie Rotarian for 2 years, I just want to say I'm extremely impressed, not only in the first 2 years of being a Rotarian, of getting to know the organization, but in the last several months, having been more stunned at the nimbleness and the agility of the organization to pull off a massive shift from an in-person convention to a virtual convention, and all the machinations that would have had to happen behind the scenes to make that happen. It just further reinforces my joy at being a Rotarian. Secondly, and there's
1 second, Brian.
Sorry,
Alan, I want that quote from the recording. I want to send it back to the staff. Anyway, go ahead, Brian.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I'll expect the check in the mail. So the other thing, as Brad will attest, on a district meeting a couple of weeks ago, a poll was taken of the people on the meeting, of the clubs that had experience at the virtual meetings and the attendance at those. And all but one club representative on the meeting had seen a increase in the amount of participation in club meetings due to it shifting to a virtual platform. It made a difference. There are people these days who are extremely busy, who may not be able to get to a meeting on a weekly basis, although we love our weekly meetings. I love seeing my fellowship. I love being able to give them a hug, ask them how they're doing. But just to participate, we found that there's more people net attending meetings. And I think that's a fabulous thing. I think to embrace that is great. To that end, our club, which is the Rotary Club of Port Moody in British Columbia, we're now going to be moving towards doing a simulcast of our weekly meetings once they get back to a relative normality, so that those who cannot attend due to commitments or have to leave early can still participate and see. And yeah, so it's, this whole thing is just, as you said, I'm the same type of person who thinks more positively than anything, sees every opportunity, be it a bad experience or a good experience, has a silver lining. You can get good out of everything in life. And so I think we need to look at it that way. Once again, thank you so much for obviously the sleepless nights you've had in bringing all this to a virtual platform for the convention. And I so look forward to being a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Those are wonderful comments. I appreciate them greatly. And, you know, supposedly it's Winston Churchill who said, although now that I've done a little Google search, I'm not so sure he actually said it, but we're going to attribute it to him anyway. Never waste a good crisis.
Thanks, Brian. That's all I have for questions. If anyone has a last minute question, please get it into the chat quickly. But with that, I'm going to turn it back to Brad. Any closing remarks or questions from you, Brad?
Thank you very much, Alan, and thank you for hosting this. He's done all of these, and I've always forgotten to thank him for that. So thank you, Alan. Just before we go, I wanted to recognize that we do have some leaders on the call here. We have our coordinator, Bill Robson, that you know, and DGE Carol, and our foundation chair, Malcolm. And I'd like to just tell you, Mark, that we set a goal this year for Polio Plus program that was higher than last year to raise funds, and we actually went over 134% to raise those funds. And we've just sent out an email to make sure that we get to that 50 million promise that we did to get matching funds from the Gates Foundation. So we're working on that still. And we're almost at 100% of our annual fund doing that one as well. So we've really had moved and shifted. We also had to cancel our fabulous district conference, which you knew about because you gave us a message back in August. And we had a tremendous video, including a Sasquatch in our video to promote the, I guess you might call him Bigfoot down there, to promote the conference. We had some really high numbers attending. It was going to be a great conference. And we had RI past president Ian Risley coming to represent you. So unfortunately that didn't happen. So I wanted just to let you know that, and I see Lee Harmon is not in the picture at the moment, but you may have seen him. There he is. Lee Harmon was, he and his friend participated in the car rally from Peking to Paris and raised awareness of polio, and I think raised close to $50,000.
We did.
All at his own expense, and all paying for his own trip and everything. And he drove a 1931 Ford Victoria.
Correct.
Lee?
That's Vicky. Yes, yes, sir.
Miss
And
Vicky.
something just happened. I was sitting here. I was off. A fella came up to ogle this big black car with his son, and turns out he is a Rotary Exchange student to Sweden in the 1980s, and as was his sister to another country. And I invited them both to. I told him, "We're looking for you. We want you in Rotary." And he said, "I really want to join." So How about that? Here I am in the SeaTac cell phone parking lot and meet somebody. We need to get them in there.
Thanks, Lee.
You're welcome.
So Mark and Gay, I want to thank you very much for joining us this morning. I know that your Zoom schedule is impossible, but you've taken the time to join us. Thank you for all that you do, and echo DG Carroll's comments. Valerie and Jeffrey have been very helpful. We've met them with them every 2 weeks, but also we've had great contact with Sophie Thompson and Sarah Stacy that have helped us. Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
So with your youth exchange story, Lee, I have a youth exchange story to tell you from just the last 48 hours. As the president of Rotary International, sometimes you get emails just because you're the head of Rotary. If they don't know where to turn, so they send an email to the president of Rotary. And on Wednesday morning or Thursday morning, I get, it was Wednesday morning, I get an email from a mother whose daughter has been an exchange student this year in Taiwan. And the daughter was to fly on Friday from Taiwan to the United States on a nonstop flight, but it was canceled. And the mother was able to get the daughter rescheduled to fly from Taipei to Seoul, but then having to spend the night in Seoul and fly from Seoul to Detroit. And she should have just landed in Detroit within the last 3 hours. And so this daughter was going to have 18 hours in Seoul. And she wanted to know if there was something that she asked the Taiwanese Rotarians if they would have some connection to make sure her daughter was taken care of in Seoul. Well, they couldn't help her. And so the email comes to me, and it went to a youth exchange officer who jumped onto it immediately. And so I wrote to that youth exchange, district youth exchange officer separately without copying the mother and said, if you want, we can contact trustee Sengku Yun in Seoul, and maybe there's some Rotarian who's an employee at the airport that can connect with her. And the mother had said there is an airport hotel within the secure area, but it was fully booked. And so on Wednesday night, I send an email to Sengku. Before I'm up on Thursday morning, Sengku says, well, she can't leave the secure area and nobody can go into the secure area. However, there is the airport hotel, but it's fully booked. But you know what? When the president of Rotary asked me, I've just got to do something. So I pulled some strings. I have a reservation for her in the airport hotel. Here's the reservation number and the room, and she's my guest. I'm paying for the room. It's, for arrival shortly after her flight arrived, departure from the room shortly before her flight departed. And he wrote, and he copied it to the youth exchange officer and to the mother. And the mother was just over the moon with excitement. And, it shows that everyone in Rotary really cares about the kids. And it just, Rotary connects the world.
And it does.
Thank you, Mark. Just before we go, I have to make a correction. I meant to say the staff of Sophie Dangerfield, not Sophie Thompson. They've been great to us and reached out. And I believe just before we go, just to make advantage for everyone, we do have one last question, if we may. Bev?
My question was, how do you have the bandwidth to have 50,000 people joining at one time?
It's a live streaming platform. This is not Zoom. It's a one-way live streaming platform. And we're using the platform, not ours, we're using the platform of the stage production company. And supposedly they have the capability. Well, you know, I hope it works. I hope it works.
Well, terrific. We'll really promote it.
And it's, I mean, you know, and there's simultaneous interpretation in all of the regular Rotary languages. That may not be a big issue for y'all, but you know, Japanese, Korean, Mandarin, Portuguese, Spanish, French, I think Italian.
Absolutely wonderful. What you mentioned the word pivot and being flexible and people working there very hard, and obviously the convention is just one illustration of how you and the board and RI has really changed in the last 3 months to really serve Rotarians. One question I had from our group was earlier on, what about foundation? And I said, well, you know, we'll see what happens to foundation, but remember our motto is service above self. We can still serve the community even though we may have the dollars we've had in the past. We still serve. And I want to thank you, Mark and Gay, very much for this morning, your afternoon, to join us. You've enlightened us, you've encouraged us, inspired us. And so when we go forward from here, we're going to have fabulous Rotary meetings and a fabulous RI convention. Thanks to you and everyone at RI. Thank you very much, Mark. And
see you online.
Okay. Aloha. Aloha.
Aloha. Mahalo.